Hello everyone, welcome to my channel where we talk about the things we love like gaming, shows, and anime. Today I have a very special list here. I am proud to say that these next upcoming lists are about my favorite anime of all time. Or have I said that already before? Anyways, I'm of course talking about Dragon Ball Z. This list is going to be on the best Dragon Ball Z games till today. This could be Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z. Before we begin, I want to let you guys know that I'm taking requests on top 10 lists of pretty much anything, so feel free to comment on your ideas and I will be sure to work on them as soon as possible. And I'm also posting up the best comments I've seen on my channel so far, so get creative with them as well to see your comments on the next upcoming videos. I hope you like what you see on this list, so let's begin. Number 10. Dragon Ball Z Super Butoden 2. This is a Japanese-only released game that gave our Asian friends one hell of a fun time to play with their Nintendo Famicom. That's the Super Nintendo. It only had 10 playable characters, but that wasn't a problem. The gameplay was fun and exciting. The character sprites looked great for its time. It included story modes for each character, and you could perform beam struggles, specials, and fly anywhere off the screen. It really looks like Bandai tried their asses off to make the gameplay as close to the action of the show, so seeing what we got out of it was surprising to us. This game had plenty of levels, including an underwater fighting option. Fun facts for the game: this was the only DBZ game where Goku could only be playable by entering a code, as well as Broly. Interesting, huh? Number 9. Dragon Ball Z Legends. This was the first time I felt like I was actually playing a DBZ game where it felt like I was fighting just like in the anime. And I'm talking about back in the PlayStation 1 days. Now we got all sorts of crazy shit that makes us believe we're Super Saiyans in our bedroom. The gameplay is unique and it combines 2D with 3D. The character sprites look great, the sound, the gameplay, it all looks amazing. We got our first taste on multiple characters fighting at the same time. This game only came out on the PlayStation 1 and I was lucky enough to find it at a flea market in Mexico. It may be a long while since I last played it, but I could not let go of that controller even though I got my ass kicked plenty of times, but I came up with some new moves and fought back stronger like a Saiyan. The story mode may be short and slim, but that does not mean you should ignore the game. The game actually lets you play from the beginning of the Dragon Ball Z series all the way till the end fighting Kid Buu. Do not miss out on this game, trust me. Number 8. Dragon Ball Kai Ultimate Butoden. This is a Japan-only game. Man, I hate that Japan's greedy ass doesn't intend on making the Butoden series worldwide. But anyways, this game surprisingly has a lot to offer. It has over 38 different characters and each of them have their own transformations like Super Saiyan 1, 2, and 3. You can't transform during the game, but they just add 2 extra characters. King Kai is for some reason a playable character. You can customize every character and give them different clothing, which is pretty cool. The graphics, music, sound effects, gameplay, controls, and everything works great. The only bad thing is that, again, it's a Japan-only game, so you would need to learn how to read Japanese. It ain't easy, but it's a necessity because there are a lot of customizable items and options that require you to read, so you know what every item does or simply understand what's going on when you're playing through the story mode. The story is also an upgrade. It has interesting what-if scenarios like Yamcha and Piccolo working together to take down Raditz. It's creative and you want to know what they're saying. I could get very detailed about this game, but there is still much for me to figure out, but whatever I haven't figured out isn't needed to say that this game is a lot of fun. The gameplay is just as good as the Budokai gameplay, but as you can see, the character sprites are different than the other DBZ game sprites. And in my opinion, I think they look great. If you do like what you see, I recommend buying it, because it will work for your Nintendo DS. Luckily, Japanese DS games do work on a non-Japanese DS. Sadly, the 3DS isn't region-free. Thanks a lot, Japan. Number 7. Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3. I'm sure every one of you has played this game. You couldn't possibly have missed out on playing it growing up. If you did, you're fucking stupid. I'm just kidding. This game improved so much from the first one and definitely the second one, giving you a shitload of hours playing in your room, prohibiting your friends from leaving until you kick their asses one more time. This game allows you to raise your ki faster in comparison to the first two. You can transform and not worry about your ki draining quick. You can perform beam struggles, you can dodge, perform teleport counters, equip items, go into hyper mode to beat the shit out of your opponent. Use Dragon Rush to go into a mode where you choose one of 4 buttons shown and hope your opponent doesn't choose the same button as you, so you can continue to hit your opponent, but if your opponent pushes the same button as you, then he counters your attack. You could perform ultimate attacks, even use fucking fusion. This game offered too much. There was no way you could unlock everything in this game all in the same day without sleep. 42 playable characters and countless items to unlock. The game was so good it had to be remade in an HD release with Budokai 1, not Part 2. Part 2 just happened to suck. Number 6, Dragon Ball Advanced Adventure. Alright you Dragon Ball fans out there, here's a game that I hope none of you have played it yet because I need a freaking reason to why this game never got a sequel. Goku as a kid had one hell of a journey and took on countless villains and even an entire army of baddies known as the Red Ribbon Army. It was intense seeing what he went through as a kid, but when he grew up, the adventure changed and he was no longer taking on henchmen, but instead, he let the Z Warriors handle them while he took on the main threat. In this game, you get to experience it all as Kid Goku as you go through mostly every single thing up until you defeat King Piccolo. Now, that's a lot of enemies to take on if you remember all the opponents that Goku took on before King Piccolo appeared. This includes the bad guys he takes on while searching for the Dragon Balls, the Red Ribbon Army and all their hired men they sent before Goku destroyed their base, Baba's warriors, every martial arts tournament except for the ones after King Piccolo's defeat, and a lot more. The game is a side-scrolling beat-em-up with great moves and mechanics to make it feel as if you are fully in control of Goku. And one of the best features included is when you're facing an important opponent, like in a martial arts tournament, the gameplay fully changes into a one-on-one fight, and it adds more fun and entertainment so you never get bored. There are some flying missions where Goku is on the flying Nimbus and you take on enemies in the sky. The game lets you play through everything Goku went through as a kid, so in a way it's kinda understanding that they stopped from there instead of finishing the Dragon Ball series, since Goku grows up and there aren't many episodes that partake as Goku grown up. So that's the only disappointment, that you don't get to play as Goku grown up. But you do get additional features and even a chance to play against a friend or the CPU, so get an additional copy and get your friend to master the game so you too can go one-on-one in this masterpiece of a game. Number 5, Dragon Ball Xenoverse. This game gave us what we were asking for years. A Dragon Ball Z game with a different storyline. Seriously, why did it take so many years for developers to finally get it right? Anyways, let me start off by naming the only bad things about this game. The combo system is somewhat bland and it feels repetitive. The storyline is kinda short, but it only feels long because you have to level up in order to stand a chance against your next opponents. Which I'm not really gonna complain about it because I like a game that allows you to level up. But here you have to get used to playing the same level over and over until you're ready to move on. Now this may not be a big problem and I could let it slide. But the one big issue this game has is the online feature. It just doesn't want to work. It's been months since the game's been released and the developers haven't made it work correctly. Which really sucks ass because the online feature really feels like it's one of the best features in the game. If only it didn't have any problems or lags. But other than these issues, the game is badass. We got mostly everything we asked for in a DBZ game and I enjoyed the storyline, and that's not only because it's better than repeating the obvious storyline over and over. It actually is pretty good. It'll keep you going till the end. The graphics, music, controls, everything in general is good. But the best part of the game is that you get to create your very own character. You can choose which race you want to be, customize your clothing, character moves, special abilities, and more. This game is not perfect, but it is one of the best DBZ games I have ever played. Number 4, Dragon Ball Z Legacy of Goku 2. I don't know how this game was made after releasing the first one, because that one bombed. I mean, it was one of the biggest dookies I've ever seen and touched with the Game Boy fans. But the sequel is most definitely a great game no matter how long it's aged. Even if you're not into portable games, you gotta try this one out. Everything about the game is great. The controls work great, the music's identical, the American soundtrack, the gameplay is unique in its own way. Even though you can't perform any combos, it doesn't matter. It just works. The story begins right after the events of the first game, and you first get to play as Trunks in his future. It becomes a tutorial level, and it's a great way to introduce the mechanics of the game. This game gave us everything we couldn't do in Legacy of Goku 1. You get to take control of many of the Z fighters instead of only Goku. We can level them all up. You can explore the world by flying higher than 2 inches off the ground. This part is one of my favorites. Like I said before, one of the things I love about Dragon Ball games is giving the chance to explore the DBZ world. I find it interesting, and here we get the chance to fly everywhere and find secret locations, hidden items, even take on secret opponents like Cooler. Now the storyline ends right after defeating Cell. And that's fine because there is another sequel called Boo's Fury that lets you continue on to the Boo Saga. I don't know why they didn't just simply call it Legacy of Goku 3. It was a great game as well, but Legacy of Goku 2 is still the better one. I recommend you DBZ fans out there to try this one out. You won't regret it. Unless you accidentally got the first one instead. Number 3, Dragon Ball Z Supersonic Warriors 2. I have never had more fun playing the Dragon Ball Z game until I got a hold of this one. This is by far one of the best Dragon Ball Z games I have ever played. The graphics look beautiful, the controls, the gameplay work perfectly, the music is badass, the sound effects are identical to the anime, the level designs look amazing, everything about the game does not disappoint. This is actually the only game that has New Planet Vegeta as a stage to fight at. You get all your favorite characters to choose from, and there are even support characters that help you out when you need a backup, like extra energy, a distraction to your opponents, or help you injure your opponents. Shenlong is also a support character, and he can bring a fallen partner to life. The gameplay is unique as hell. The fighting in the air works perfectly, each character has their own special moves and ultimate specials. You can choose up to 3 characters in a match or 2 playable characters and a support character. The gameplay doesn't feel like you need to memorize how to perform certain moves. They're all easily maneuvered and the game never feels repetitive because of how much you can do. One of the best things you can do in the game is the team specials. This is where, depending on which characters you chose, you'll be allowed to perform a special move that has either 2 or all 3 of your characters work together to perform a kick-ass special move. These feel like hidden moves and you'll have a lot of fun discovering new ones and you'll really enjoy seeing what your characters do. Now the storyline is more than just playing through the usual story. Here you get to choose a character and play only as that character throughout his or her storyline. That's not all. Depending on what happens in the fight, you can actually change the events of the storyline. This is amazing because it allows you to play through a what-if scenario or a movie scenario. Most of the what-if scenarios are really good. Some of them even lead to the events of Trunks' future. Now let's say you finish playing through every character's story mode, even the hidden levels. Now you can try out an additional mode called Z Battle Mode. Here you get to choose your own team and battle against other teams in a tournament-like challenge. Once you complete it for the first time, a secret awaits. Now you got an additional feature, the maximum mode. Here is where you put your skills to the test and go up against tougher CPU opponents. The opponents get harder and harder the more you progress, and let's just say that once you get to the final 6, you'll want to get some tactics going if you think you're up for the challenges that are waiting. So let's talk about the final mode, the versus battle. This is where you and a friend get to fight against each other and see who's better. I always thought I was unbeatable after unlocking everything in the game and pretty much completing it all. But the toughest opponent I have ever fought so far is my brother Alexis. That dude's power level is equal to mine. I thought I was the shit, and we constantly keep fighting back and forth to see who's better. I love this because I know I'll always have a good opponent. Keep training, bro. I know I always will. Now, I've spoken about all the good things this game has to offer, and I hate to say this, but there is a flaw. The only flaw I could find in this game, which really won't affect you when you're playing the game on your own, and this problem is the 2-player connection. I have no idea how to fix this, but sometimes I'm having a 2-player match with a friend and the connection will just cut off in the middle of the match. Sometimes even before it begins. It pisses me off to have a killer match going on and all of a sudden the connection straight up cuts off, even if I have a full signal. I mean, how could I not? I'm standing right in front of my friend. I found the problem to occur mostly when we chose the same characters, and then I found the problem when I chose a certain level, but now I can't even have a full fight. I don't know how to solve this issue, but it truly disappoints, and it could be because of how much Wi-Fi is around my area, or because the game is aging. But I hope it can easily be solved. If anyone has figured out how to fix it, please let me know. I will be extremely thankful. One more issue that comes to mind, which is also something that won't affect you, is that you can't delete the saved data. To me, this is a bit of an issue because I wanted my brother to play the game and unlock everything on his own, but the game I bought was already completed and there was no way to properly start over the entire game unless you want to take the risk and crash the game. Other than these 2 small issues, I love the game and I strongly recommend all of you to buy it. Especially brand new to unlock everything on your own. Number 2. Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2 and 3. I seriously couldn't choose between these 2. Why? Because they're both identically badass. The first Budokai Tenkaichi was a good experience and introduced us to a better gameplay, but a lot of the characters were so unplayable, like Broly. He feels so heavy and slow when controlling him. I get what they're going for, but if Broly was that slow, then he would have been like Trunks was when he went Super Saiyan 1.5 against Cell, and he couldn't lay a finger on him due to his speed. But anyways, Tenkaichi 2 and 3 have so much to offer. In Tenkaichi 2, we were given so many playable characters and amazing special moves. Then Tenkaichi 3 gave us a shitload more characters. I mean, you get over 128 characters, I believe. Holy shit, right? How the hell did they manage to make that many? I will never know. It's not like they all spawn the same exact moves or look identical. They all have their own fighting moves and they match the characters from the show. Everyone even has their own special moves, so it makes you want to try every single character out. Now, here are the reasons to why I couldn't choose either one to take number 2 on the list. Tenkaichi 2 and 3 have different music and the music is great on both games. The stages are close to the same for both games. The gameplay is identical for both games. The story mode on Tenkaichi 2 is great and way better than the storyline in Tenkaichi 3, but Tenkaichi 3 has character interactions during a fight in story mode, which is cool, but it's not enough to equal the story mode in Tenkaichi 2. But what does equal it is the amount of playable characters to choose from in Tenkaichi 3. Then both games have the same amount of customizable items, so seriously, they are both identically great. But if you prefer more characters over playing the game's story mode, then I say choose Tenkaichi 3. But if you're more of a one-player guy who enjoys playing alone, then go for Tenkaichi 2. I highly recommend either game for DBZ fans, but if you've never played the Tenkaichi series, then you are in for a surprise because the gameplay is so fast-paced and it does feel as if they finally perfected the gameplay to a Dragon Ball Z game. Number 1. Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi Tag Team. Boom! Another Tenkaichi game makes it to the list. So why does this game make it to number 1? Here are the veggies. Tenkaichi 2 and 3 gave us everything we always wanted in a Dragon Ball Z game, from gameplay all the way to every single character we wanted to play as. But the only thing that was missing was fighting more than one opponent at the same time. Games today have that going on, like with Dragon Ball Xenoverse, but the gameplay isn't exactly like Tenkaichi gameplay, which disappoints because Tenkaichi gameplay fits in perfectly and allows us to fight without any problems. It does take some time to learn every character's moves and combos, but it allows you to come up with your own strategy. Now, this game only came out on the PSP, surprisingly, and the controls are the same to the PS2 controls, with a few changes made to fit the gameplay well on the PSP. I didn't have any problems with the changes, so no worries there. The character roster was sadly decreased. I won't lie, the game has over 47 playable characters, and most of them have their transformations included, making it over 70 playable characters. At least that's how advertising shows it. The voice acting comes from the Dragon Ball Kai series, and the story mode, the characters interact during a fight just like in Tenkaichi 3. But here, the story mode is actually very good. And like every Dragon Ball Z game's story mode, yes, it includes a what if scenarios. I did enjoy most of them, and just like in Legacy of Goku 2, you can fly anywhere and explore different areas. This adds to more fun and the what if scenarios to play through. Now let me talk about the gameplay some more. I don't understand why the game is called Tenkaichi Tag Team when it doesn't have any tag team in it. Tag team is when you have more than one character and you fight one at a time, and then tag your other chosen characters to substitute and continue the fight. Just like in Tenkaichi 2 and 3, where you can choose up to 5 characters to switch through during a fight. So the title is misleading, but here's what they really meant. You can choose one or more characters and have them both fight at the same time to work together as a team. This is exactly what was missing in every Dragon Ball Z game. Except Dragon Ball Z Legends, that one got it right. I was always wanting to take on Androids 17 and 18 by playing as Trunks and having my partner adult Gohan working together to defeat them. And thanks to this game, I could finally do that. You can even take your skills to the major limits and have 2 opponents against you alone. What more can you ask for? This game gives you all the things you loved about the previous Tenkaichi games and puts it all in the PSP. It even adds to more additional combos to pull off with your teammate. Now here are the additional features. One of the best modes to enjoy after fully completing the story mode is called Battle 100, where you take on many CPU teams to earn more points to unlock many items, which are a great addition to the customized settings. Each team has a unique name, like Manly Beards for Nappa and Deborah, Chocolate is the Best for Berter and Majin Spoiled Rich for Kid Trunks and Frieza, and many more. Another additional feature is a survival mode. Now this one isn't like every survival mode that just keeps you going until you lose. That would be kind of great, but mostly pointless because I don't like to know that there's no end to a fight. In this survival mode, you fight up to 100 opponents. You of course take on 2 at a time, but they get harder the more you progress. Now this is where I have to talk about another addition to the game, the multiplayer feature. This game allows up to 4 players to duke it out. That means you and one of your friends can work together to take on 2 other friends. Now that is epic. And if you can't manage to take on all 100 opponents in the survival mode because your CPU partner keeps dying, don't panic, because you are allowed to have a friend take its place and help you take on all 100 opponents. Also, after every 10 opponents you defeat, you're given the option to save and quit to take a break or continue another time. Once you begin to take on the next 10 opponents, you will be given a chance to receive extra health bars or senzu beans if you complete a side challenge it asks. The side challenge could be anything from landing the first hit to taking no damage from the team you're fighting. Now the survival mode is no joke. You will need all the help you can get, including your friend, so this is where the customized settings comes in handy. The items you unlock can help you in so many ways. You can customize a certain character to have extra health bars, more defense power, more attack power, or increase the damage given from your character's techniques. You can also use tag type items that best suit the character you choose. For example, you can use an item called Combination Attack to help increase attack power through co-op actions. Or you can use the item called Revenge, which makes your character enter burst mode when your partner is knocked out. You have many more items to choose from to help make your tactics work to your advantage. Then there are the Intellect type items. These items help you make your character fight the way certain characters fight. For example, there is the Goku type, making a balance of attacks and defense, also focusing on close combat. Or the Broly type, which focuses on attacks, chasing its opponent constantly, and focusing on follow-up attacks. Now, the graphics of the game are like the ones on the Tenkaichi games for the PS2, but with the black outline around each character. Kind of like in Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS, which I find it very pointless, especially since in Super Smash Bros. You can simply remove the outline. I wish you could do the same thing for this game, but it doesn't affect the game at all, or the graphics, so it's not an issue. The music in the game is as good as every Tenkaichi game, and that is all I have to say about this game. It is quite the masterpiece. I know every DBZ fan will love it, and it is a must-own. I gave this game number 1 on the list for a reason, so don't waste any more time and go buy this game right away. So these were the best games to ever come out of the Dragon Ball franchise. But next time, I'm gonna get to the worst things that come out. Nope, not talking about the worst games again. I'm talking about Dragon Ball Evolution. So stay tuned because the next top 10 video is gonna be on the top 10 reasons why Dragon Ball Evolution sucks ass. Requested by Jacob Scully. Well, that's the end of the top 10 list. I hope you enjoyed the video, so put a thumbs up. And if there are any other Dragon Ball Z games you think should have made the list, let me know in the comments. And if you want to see more of my videos, be sure to hit that subscribe button and I'll be sure to post up more videos on my top 10 list. This is Score saying, have an awesome day.